These are notes on converting between systems. Today we're going to be focusing on converting between the metric system, which has things like centimeters and millimeters and kilometers, and we're going to be converting into the customary system, which has things like inches and feet and miles. That's for length, and then for capacity, we're going to be using quarts and liters. These are not the only three conversions we will use, but they are the three main ones we're going to start with. All of the other ones can be found in your agenda on the blue reference pages. To start, we're going to do one problem two different ways. So we're going to convert 5 liters into quarts, and the first way we're going to see is by setting up a proportion. I'm going to begin by setting up how I want my ratios to look. And I'm going to decide that I want to do liters in the numerator and quarts in the denominator. Now that was just the way I chose to do it because I saw liters first. Either way would work as long as you keep everything lined up. So the first half of my proportion, I'm going to use what was given to me. 5 liters. And I'm trying to figure out how many quarts that is equal to. So I'm going to put x quarts in the denominator. Okay, so the first half of your proportion is just using the information that they gave you. The second half, I'm going to use the conversion factor that they gave me. So on the first page, we saw that 1 quart was approximately 95 hundredths of a liter. So I'm going to still line this up so that liters are in the numerator and quarts are in the denominator. Notice how the second ratio is equal to 1 if you were divide it because those two measurements are equal to each other. Now that we have our proportion set up, we can use cross products to solve. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 1. And I'm going to leave my units off for now just because I know that they're going to be quarts at the end, so I'll go back and put them on at the end. And then I'm going to set that equal to 95 hundredths times x. So the equation that I have is 5 equals 95 hundredths x. In a one-step equation, you're going to divide by the coefficient on both sides. And when I do that, I'm going to get a value. 5 divided by 95 hundredths is approximately 5 3/10. Okay, and that's an approximation. So I'm going to use the squiggly equal sign because it's not perfect. I had to round. So for my final answer on this, x is approximately 5 3/10 quarts. Next, we're going to see the same problem done a different way. I'm going to convert 5 liters, so I'm going to start with that amount. Now I'm going to multiply it by a special form of 1, and I'm going to set up this form of 1 so that it works out. I'm still going to use the conversion factor that they gave. So I'm still going to use 1 quart is approximately 95 hundredths of a liter. Except this time, I'm going to put the liters in the denominator and the quarts in the numerator. Okay, now notice how this is equal to 1. Okay, it's a special form of 1. And if I multiply 5 liters by 1, it's still the same amount. It's still equal to 5 liters. It just might look a little bit differently. So now that I have this set up, I'm going to simplify what I can. If you want to, you can put 5 liters over 1 to help you keep everything lined up. Now we've done this a little bit already this year. I want to remind you that if you have anything divided by itself, so for example, liters divided by liters, that will always be equal to 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. So when I multiply these two fractions together, I can simplify liters and liters because that's equal to 1. So I'm going to cross out those units. I still have quarts, but the liters cancel. That's how I know how to set up the second fraction. I wanted them to cancel, so since liters was already in the numerator, I needed to put it in the denominator for the second ratio. Now I can multiply straight across. 5 multiplied by 1 quart is 5 quarts. And 1 multiplied by 95 hundredths is 95 hundredths. Notice that this is the same calculation that we saw before in the last step of our equation solving. We had that same calculation. So you're going to get to the same thing. It's just a matter of the steps you take to get there. So just like we saw before, 5 divided by 95 hundredths is approximately 5 and 3/10. Now we have quarts here, so I'm going to keep the quarts here. So 5 liters is approximately 5 and 3/10 of a quart. Okay, both of those are valid methods to solve. I don't really mind which method you use as long as you're showing the work that I've shown and you're getting the correct answer, then either way is fine. Okay, next we're going to compare two airplanes and see which one is faster. Now the first one travels 60 miles per hour and the second one travels 75 kilometers per hour. I need to convert one into the other, so I'm going to pick the 60 miles per hour and I'm going to convert that into kilometers per hour. So if I look back, 1 mile is approximately 1.6 kilometers. So that's the conversion that I need for this problem. So I'm going to multiply by a special form of 1. 1 mile was approximately 1.6 kilometers. Now I'm multiplying by a form of 1, and I have miles divided by miles. So those are going to simplify and cancel out. So now 60 multiplied by 1 and 6/10 of a kilometer divided by 1 hour when I just multiply everything straight across and keep the units. So now when I simplify, 60 multiplied by 1 and 6/10 is about 96. And then I still have kilometers per 1 hour. So 60 miles per hour is approximately 96 kilometers per hour. Now it's really easy to compare those two, and I can see that the biplane is actually traveling at a faster speed. And I can add in some specific information and say that it's traveling about 20 kilometers per hour faster. All right, and that is all that we're going to do on converting measurements. So hopefully that made sense for you.